Surprise! Hello! Elysia from the Wolfshift Dust podcast checking in with a quick bonus episode linked to the surprise new Apple novelette drop, linked to all the events that take place between the Silo Season 1 finale and Silo Season 3 Episode 5. The novelette is called The Mystery of the Pez, allegedly written by one Robert Sims.
Hi, I'm Luke, ready to crawl into the mysterious mind of the man who puts the Sims in Simsnard.
So, Apple dropped a little surprise in our lap, so we're paying it forward with a little surprise for you. This is a bonus episode linked to Season 3, Episode 5, related to the Apple exclusive short story Relic number 1175, The Mystery of the Pez by Robert Sims. So we will be following the usual spoiler policy here, which is, Luke, what is our spoiler policy?
So the discussion will be spoiler-free beyond what's already aired. So full spoilers through episode 5 of season 3 of Silo. So that means anything that was on screen in season 1 and 2 and the first 5 episodes of season 3, Elysia can talk about. Elysia has read the books, but I'm keeping it show only. So to protect mine and your spoiler innocence, there'll be no future book spoilers.
Right. So I will only say anything related to the book that's already been on screen, nothing that hasn't been on screen, even if it's we're still getting stuff from the first book now because they really remixed the order of events. So, because of all of that, there's always lots of room for speculation on my part. I simply won't speculate if it's a spoiler. But Abby and I do have our book club spoiler cast that we talk about at the end of all of our regular episodes. And we will, in this episode 6 spoiler cast, Abby and I will talk about some additional, more spoilery thoughts about this surprise little booklet. Yeah. So we do recommend checking out this short little booklet before proceeding. It's linked in the show notes. Android users, you're going to have to jump through an extra hoop or two, but you can find it. Turn to Reddit for help if you need to. Mm-hmm. But yes, so Luke, I mean, it's short, right? It's like less than 30 pages, but not even full pages.
Yeah, so it's about 30 odd pages in the Apple format I read it on, and yeah, they're less than full pages. And it is very much a book of the TV series, as far as I could tell, because
not at all about the book.
Yeah, because I think you've told me before that Camille doesn't exist in the books.
Right. No. Completely TV stuff.
Yeah, and Camille is referenced a number of times in this, so it's very much a silo project as opposed to a Wolfshift Dust project.
Right. Yeah, and it's again called Relic number 1175, The Mystery of the Pez, and it's by Robert Sims, in universe, so written in universe. It was released on Friday, July 31st, the same day as episode 5 on Apple Books. And it does contain in-universe spoilers up to and including that episode. So be aware of that. And it's, I guess it would still be called an epistolary story. I normally think, that's often about when you write letters back and forth, like Dracula, but I was looking, is there a different name for it when it's a diary format like Frankenstein? And they're like, no, we call it epistolary too.
Yeah, it's still epistolary. It's still epistolatory. That's not an easy word to say.
No. So basically, it's Sims' journal entries documenting his private and illegal search into the origins and chain of possession of the Ducky Pez dispenser that's featured throughout the show. So, I would say reading it takes maybe an hour less, probably.
Yeah, I think I did it the first time in 45 minutes.
Okay. All right. And so what were your overall thoughts before we get into some of the, we're not going to recap the whole thing. A lot of it is already recapping stuff from the show, but from Sims' perspective, but we will dig into some interesting things it brought up. But what did you think overall?
Well, first off, I dare anybody that reads this not to read it in Common's voice. I was just reading the whole thing in Common's rather, gruff baritone, for the entire 45 pages. I do think it gives you some like little nuggets that go quite well with episode 5 in terms of giving you an insight into what Robert Sims is thinking around his marriage to Camille. It gives you a load of background as to the first rebellion, or the first rebellion that we know of that happened 140 years prior to the start of Silo the series. And is it written by Hugh Howey?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I'm sure it's written by someone from the marketing department at Apple.
Okay. So how about you, Elysia? What did you think of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's like Apple's done these before for other shows, and they're always fun. But actually, I think this one gave more in-universe insight than I expected, because like they did one for Succession and one for Pluribus. Pluribus was supposed to be like an excerpt from an in-universe novel, so it's not really meant to give a lot of exposition. Although it did in the intro. Anyway, that's Pluribus. But this actually, I thought of. I guess this is the third such Apple novelette that I've read. And I think that, and maybe it's because I'm so deep down this rabbit hole, I was like, wow, they're actually saying a lot of interesting things here that I think are relevant to the show going forward.
Okay.
Yeah. Shall we get into them?
Yeah, let's.
Your regularly scheduled breakdown will begin in 3, 2, 1.
So as I said, I do recommend reading the story first, but we are just going to be picking out some of the most interesting bits here. And then we will be including this booklet in our future spoiler warnings so that we can openly discuss it going forward. But yeah, so basically this covers the time. The first Sims entry begins right after Juliet goes outside in the season 1 finale, and then continues through her return, covering spoilers that are only told in episode 5 that just came out this past Friday. And yeah, as I said, much of it recaps certain events from Sim's perspective, and so we do get some more insight from his perspective. But we're going to focus especially on the new insights gleaned. So you had a question of authorship. Now I'll say the intro is signed by it says Flamekeeper S. Granger. So I do wonder, like, is S. Granger the name of the person who actually wrote it, like the real world person? Maybe there's a good chance.
Oh, that hadn't occurred to me. I just thought it was in universe. But yeah,
could be.
If it's not Hugh Howey, then yeah, there's a pretty good chance.
No, there's no way it's Hugh Howey. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it could be in universe, and if it's in universe, I was like, who could it possibly be? Someone whose first name begins with an S, whose last name we don't know. And the only person I could think of is one of the fangirls is named Sally. So, or it could just be another random.
Yeah, character. Or it could be somebody we haven't met yet.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the question, is when we know when Robert's entries are written, because he places it in the context of the events that we are familiar with from the show. But when the intro was written after that, because we know the silo's in an existential crisis. So like, we don't even know how long it's going to be around.
This is true. It could be like 200 years in the future for all we know.
I mean, that's like beyond, that would mean that, yeah, because we know the longest, even if they weren't running out of light bulbs, even if they weren't, having the D plus, whatever, I guess that doesn't end the silo, but it would end memory of this unless it's found after that. That's a good question. Could this be something if the D plus goes through something that they find later? But
yeah.
But okay, or even if there's no safeguards, still we know there's like only 50 years of supplies left, even if they somehow find and recover all those light bulbs.
Well, yeah, maybe there's always a Deus Ex light bulb.
We'll see. I thought, yeah, it was interesting that the intro notes Sims as an unexpected source. And sure, if you ask the average fan before this, which character in the show do you think will be writing a little book? I don't think people would be like Sims.
Yeah, it would not have been Sims.
No.
Like George.
Bernard or,
Yeah, George or Lucas or Bernard Or Judge Meadows, yeah, absolutely. Even Mayor Johns,
Yeah,
quite
sure.
possibly. But yeah, Sims would be about the last
Or
person on
Billings,
that
or
list.
anyone but Sims. Camille, I would expect first.
Yeah. I do like on the front page, Sims Sims is like trying to start like three
Yeah.
times, and you see like three different openings crossed out.
Yeah, just write the damn thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to note in the intro that this Flamekeeper S. Granger says, remembering our past is the only path toward a future outside. And I was like, oh, that feels like a message to the real world. Remember our history. Don't repress our history. But yeah, this, as far as Sims being reluctant to start it, he notes at the beginning, the pact says unofficial written records are forbidden of relics. So this is something that he's keeping a secret from his wife, we find out, to protect her. He's so that's already just like playing into the tensions that are going on in the couple Sims. But also, my question is, what are, like, we know they're not reading much in the schools, because it seems like Juliet doesn't even know where her name comes from, although I'll say she absolutely did in the books. The book version of Juliet has seen the play performed in the silo. That doesn't seem to be the case in this version, because all books were basically destroyed in the last rebellion. So other than the pact, what are they teaching them to read and write in school? Males?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and also like, well, I suppose it's like the technical manuals as well for the various departments. But yeah, that would be about it.
And they have to be able to like communicate. We see them regularly sending each other functional messages, but
there's nothing you could call literature.
No, that's sad. Squashing the creative soul.
Yeah.
But do you notice, do you have the feeling from this that Sims actually has more curiosity than we assumed?
Yes, yeah, and this is the thing. I think it does add to Sims's character without like taking you in a wildly different direction. It feels plausible. It feels like something that Robert Sims would do, and I wonder whether we will see this on screen at some point. Either somebody finds it, or we see him writing it, or so I wonder whether it will be brought into the show explicitly. I hope so.
Yeah, it would be interesting. Yeah. Again, and he also notes in here that Bernard, as we saw on screen, says the relic wasn't important, but it is now, and now we understand that that's because it's an artifact, because it's like it would bring back Juliet's memory, for example, which it did. I mean, it was the tipping point in that, but yeah. So, okay, let's talk about some of the topics that come up. The most interesting, revealing part is about the pre-George history. We find out that before George, there were two confirmed owners of the Pez dispenser. Both were sent to the mines. There was someone called Lana Moore. We never hear anything more about her yet. But then we do hear more about someone called Lionel Nelson, who was known as a rebel leader in that rebellion 140 years ago, the Salvador Quinn Rebellion. And Sims says in his notes that the Pez dispenser has been lost since then until it turned up with George. And he says that from judicial interviews during the rebellion period, he noticed a lot of people became confused, which is obviously because of the memory drug.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that he asks, who are you if you don't have memories of the people you love? And I think it's interesting because we see this is a plot line right now in the story that's playing out, this fear about the vitamin D plus wiping all the memories and his son not remembering him and everything. But also, it just struck me that, with the whole fact, we still haven't met this Paris Denson character who was teased at the end of the last episode. But we know he's played by Colin Hanks. But we know he started this clinic that Charlotte's at because his mother had Alzheimer's. And for anyone who's known people who have had Alzheimer's, then they start to forget you. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that and whether that's an intentional parallel, but I just, as someone who has experienced being on the remembering side of someone who loses memory of you, it struck a chord. It hit hard.
Yeah, it does, and yeah, I think the parallel is deliberate, and yeah, it's if you've ever been in that situation, it will bring up a lot of feelings and memories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you get the sense from this? I guess Sims didn't know at first, at least as he was writing this, that he knew about the forgetting drugs, obviously, because we saw him like offering them to Patrick and on all that. And that was something he did for Bernard occasionally. But it didn't seem like he knew that you could put it in the water.
Yeah, that there was enough of it to dose the whole silo.
Yeah. That you could mass dose it via the water, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is where Sim's horror of the whole thing comes from. If he was just doing it to Patrick Kennedy, if he was just doing it to Lucas Kyle, if he was just doing it to Julia or Bernard, that would be protecting the silo. But how do you rationalize protecting the silo when nobody's going to know who anybody is? When you're basically resetting an entire society. And I think that's what Sims is struggling with, because everything he's done in his own head has always been towards the greater good of protecting the silo. And he just can't see how giving the memory drug to everybody could square with protecting the silo.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also learn when Lionel was arrested after the rebellion, there were a number of relics linked to him. There was a rubber ball that was destroyed back then. There was a patch of cloth. There was a white star on blue. I assume it's the U.S. flag, or I looked it up, and Georgia's flag also has stars like that. So maybe it's linked to that. That was also destroyed back then. The rest were not destroyed back then, although we have seen one destroyed since. The Georgia Kids Guidebook was linked to this.
Thanks, Billings.
Yeah, so Billings mostly destroyed it in season 1, except that final page that we saw in the last episode in Juliet's artifacts box. The other things in there where there was 3 small spiked metal pieces, I was like, are those like jacks? Like playing jacks?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Or maybe like pieces for a board game.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, because there's lots of toy stuff. It makes me think of the Frisbee in Judge Meadows' apartment, or
what do you think it is? What could they have used it for?
It's beautiful. George also had like a shuttlecock in his thing. And so there was also a cow-shaped stuffed doll in there. A small notebook with writing. I'm like, please find that one. I need that one. What writing?
Do we think that might be Helen's notebook?
I mean, so yeah, are we thinking because of the Pez dispenser that somehow she ends up in this silo?
The Pez dispenser got in there somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'll say that certainly because of the Pez dispenser, I have been hearing a lot of people theorizing that she ends up in there. I mean, I'll say like it would be a book change of sorts, but it's one that's not outside of possibility. Yeah. Although this is 140 years ago, so it would be an old notebook already by then, because again, they've been in there 352 years. So it would be 200 years old.
That would be very, very old. But then again, I've handled stuff in archives that's that old. Well, I haven't, but before you're allowed in the archives, even if you're not going to handle stuff that old, you still have to take the training course on how to handle stuff that old.
Yeah. And it's noted several times in this booklet that the Pez dispenser was especially well cared for. So that would, you would think maybe all of these things were especially well cared for. Like the Georgia Kids Guidebook, That was definitely from the before times. That was not produced in the silo for sure.
No, absolutely not.
So yeah, that was 350 years old when we saw it last season. So I think maybe they are just well taken care of. So I think you're maybe not wrong. And then the last thing, we'll come back to this one in a bit. There was a sonogram photo in there, which is still at large, but George knew about this sonogram photo, that he knew that it was something. He didn't know the word sonogram. Sims gets that word from Bernard later, because Bernard knows it from the legacy in the vault. But George knew it was like taking pictures inside a pregnant woman's belly. He told Regina about it, and Regina told Sims about it. But we'll come back to all that part. But speaking of pregnancies, so we learned that Lionel, the one who had all these relics, he had a wife named Patricia Bascon, and there was a strange lack of information from her post-rebellion. So this is sort of the thread that Sims started pulling at, because he found from interviews with Lionel that she was apparently 37 weeks pregnant, it sounds like, and Lionel was expecting her to have a girl named Alexandra, which we'll find out was born a boy named Alexander. And that Alexander would become the patriarch of a family of many teachers. And the way that Sims learned this is because there's a Dr. Keith Felton who Sims, it sounds like it reminded me of the guy in the craftsman in the marketplace, where it's like, he owed me, like he's afraid of you.
Yeah.
And so this guy was, he basically Sims dropped a charge in exchange for a future favor, because the guy was trading pills for unsanctioned liquor, which made me wonder, like, could it be linked to Frankie Brown, the season 1 minor character who got in trouble for selling bad liquor?
Oh, that is a deep cut. That is a real deep cut, Elysia.
I mean, probably, I don't know, probably not. But how many bootleggers? Well, no. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But anyway, so Sims was like, I'll drop the charge for future favor. And now he's like, I'm cashing in the favor. I need to see medical records. And Dr. Keith Felton was maybe more helpful than he needed to be, because he told Sims also, like, he couldn't find what he wanted at first. And so Keith was like, well, actually, after the rebellion, a lot of mothers got visits at home. So check those records for this woman you think has given birth. And so in those records, Sims found something very odd. He found a newborn with a mother named Marina Wilkins, who was listed as age 73. He's like, that
didn't happen.
That seems unlikely. So his assumption is that it was Patricia's new false identity, and he found out it was a paraplegic woman who had, was it nerve damage or something? But anyway, and she presumably passed away in the rebellion. I'm guessing that's not explicit, but it seems that Patricia took on this Marina Wilkins identity after the rebellion and the reset, and spawned the Wilkins family. Now, what is George's last name? Juliet's George?
Wilkins.
Yay. So Sims finds out that 100 years after this, Anne Wilkins, George's mom, who we know was the last person who had possession of the Georgia guidebook, for example, their family was living in Lionel's old apartment. And there's another interesting question, because again, small silo. Anne Wilkins, it turns out, was Robert's year 3 teacher who used to give him private reading tutoring and hoped that he would become a teacher, but he did not.
Yeah, well, I think this just goes to show that the silo is a very small community. And at some point, everybody is going to come across everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you are going to get these like, and particularly with the whole shadowing system, where people do tend to follow, the same career paths, father to son, mother to daughter. This is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I thought giving us a bit more background on George was 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 cool, because I do hope at some point over series 3 or 4 or something we do get a bit more of the Silo pre season 1. Like, I'd like to know more about George. I'd like to know more about Holston and Allison. I'd just like to know more about how the Silo worked before things started to change. Put it that way. Like, you've got that in the first few episodes, but I'd still like a bit more of that at some point.
I'm going to say it's probably unlikely with the time they have left and what they have to do. I think it's especially unlikely. I think you should keep campaigning for the Holston and Allison spinoff.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen. But, yeah.
But maybe we find out more about this Wilkins family, since we see it's connected to these important relics. And considering the duck Pez dispenser and maybe the notebook, as you point out, if they did eventually come in the silo with Helen, would that mean that George was a descendant of Helen? I mean, not necessarily, but it could.
It could. Well, I'll go you one better. What if he's a descendant of Helen and Daniel? Because after episode 5, they've definitely got some smoking hot chemistry going on.
Yeah, you've been predicting that they would be getting it on.
And
sometimes that makes bebes. And the thing is, the sonogram is also we know that was not taken in the silo. That was something that was brought into the silo. So probably someone who entered the silo pregnant was Robert's kind of possible thought.
I wonder why sonograms aren't available in the silo, because we know that the computer technology is fairly sort of 1980s, but sonograms existed at that point, didn't they?
I don't know. It's a good question. Something about the X-ray qualities. I guess we haven't seen any X-rays in general.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking if you are thinking about how to preserve, humanity long term in that kind of environment, delivering babies would be
important.
Would be a key attribute of that. So if you were going to bend the pact for anything, it would be for healthcare related stuff.
Could it be related to the reasons why magnifying beyond a magnifying glass is illegal?
Oh, that's possible. Yeah.
Well, about Ann Wilkins, George's mom, we find out that Sims, her former student, when he was 18 and just joined judicial, to her disappointment, an informant accused Anne of hiding relics, which apparently was true, but none were found. But Sims stayed and talked with her after this incident. And I don't know. Yeah, it seems like you just can't help but think, what if Sims had become a teacher instead? Would that have been better or worse for the silo overall?
I'll tell you what, his students would have got fantastic test scores.
Because they were afraid of him?
Yeah, there's no way you are not going to sit down, shut up and learn if Robert Sims is at the front of the class.
Yeah. I mean, I would say maybe he wouldn't have become as scary, but it sounds like he learned that from his dad, who was, it sounds like, a judicial security before him.
And also, he's just a big guy,
Yeah, but big guys can not be scary too. It's his demeanor.
I guess. Yeah.
So yeah, Regina, we learned get some new insights on her too. That Sims, according to Sims, this is where we might say it's an unreliable narrator situation. But Sims says Regina enjoyed the thrill of the find when it came to the relics game versus George, who was doing this basically out of deep questions about the big meaning. And maybe that's why George is more attracted to Juliet than Regina in the end, or, falls in love with her.
I mean, it's Sims's opinion. I don't think it's necessarily an unreliable narrator, because he just it's made clear that it's his opinion. But I do think of what we've seen of George and Regina, it's pretty much accurate.
Okay. I mean, but then I was kind of surprised to find and worried. This worries me to hear that Regina went to judicial, like she had been approached a lot, as we've heard in the show. But after George left her to go downstairs and got together with Juliet, Regina went to judicial as an informant about him, which Sims says he thinks it was about like bitterness and jealousy, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't know that before. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes me worry about her loyalty to the Silo Avengers.
Is that what we're calling them now?
It's what I'm calling them.
Fair enough.
If you like it, you can do it too.
Yeah, no. I think we should trademark that before somebody else grabs that. Yeah, it is a good point.
Okay, question about her though is whatever happened to, remember in season 1, so this is from season 1 episode 6, I pulled the quote, a man who knows, this is actually a quote from our notes from then. I just pulled it out of our notes from that episode. A man who knows everything would come at night and threaten the people she loves unless she gave him answers. Someone who knows everything she does all day, not like judicial, she said, who come during the day. So we still don't know who is this mysterious man who would come to her at night and know everything, not like judicial.
So are you saying that that might be Sims?
No, that's not what I'm saying, because he was judicial.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's still up in the air. Or maybe that influenced her to go as an informant.
Yes. Yeah, to make it stop. Basically.
But I want to know who that is still. But then we find out Sims also brought Regina in for questioning after he became a judge, and told her he was having doubts about Bernard and everything, basically. And that's when she told him about the sonogram. Yeah. So we talked about the sonogram already, but it's that, we saw Sims say to her in this past episode, to be honest with her, that his wife didn't know something, and he was honest with her then in an unexpected way as well.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. What kind of new insights do you feel like you got into Sims in this?
I feel like I know like the internal life of Robert Sims a bit better. That he was smart at school, but that he struggled with his reading. I thought that was interesting. I thought you see his ambition all the way through this, which is not new, but it does kind of add to what we've already know. And like his tone towards Bernard changes as the story goes on, and I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I think we get more insight into how, not necessarily his and Camille's relationship, but how he is feeling about that relationship. And yeah, like Sims is quite a closed off character. He doesn't give much away about his thoughts and feelings. So to have this like private space is quite interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I thought there was, you feel a variety of feelings with him. There's the tragic where he's like, how many more people need to fall from a railing before Bernard will trust me? Like, yikes. But yeah.
He just really wanted a hug from Bernard.
Yeah. He kind of finally got it this past episode.
Yeah.
Of the Papa's proud of you moment. But we find out, after the Meadows incident, Sims's resentment for Bernard grew, understandably. And then, and he also says something about like when he's helping him in the Digger Void, he's like, I might have pressed a little harder than I needed to on his wounds, but Bernard felt like he deserved it, basically.
Yeah.
And Bernard encourages at this point Sim's investigation into, obviously old Bernard would be like cleaning, but now he's like, no, keep looking into this pet dispenser. Maybe you're actually onto something. And we also learn, by the way, that Bernard does not know why they are there. There's nothing in the vault about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is interesting.
And as you said, also the changing feelings toward Camille, where basically she stopped telling him things when she became head of IT. And as a consequence, Robert stopped kind of trusting her judgment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we definitely see that tension building between them. But just seeing his change, like at the beginning in his first entry, he says, hopeful people make reckless decisions. And that this is why they had to like quash the hope of various things. And that is definitely straight out of the Order. That's absolutely what we've learned about the Order, that it says things like that. But then through the investigation, by the end of it, he's questioning why they wouldn't want people to have hope from seeing the Georgia book. What do you think about that change?
I think that makes sense because you don't want people going outside.
Mm-hmm.
And the temptation is if you show them that book, well, maybe it's bad here, but if I could just make it over the other side of the hill,
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's a place where it's all right.
Mm.
And also, you just don't want to, we've talked about this before, you just don't want to torture people with a world that existed at one point but no longer exists. Like, if you're thinking about pure survival, that's not useful. You know, there's a line in the book, and there's a line in the novella, and I'm paraphrasing this slightly, where Sims actually says, you know, the only way to survive is to look towards the future. And I think in that he's correct.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that he has a point there. It's interesting that he says in there, like, he's been confronting Juliet, saying that his son has gotten nervous since she broke in and caused trouble, you know, held his wife at gunpoint and stuff about the whole hard drive. Did she even have a gun? I don't know. Anyway, she locked her up. But in here, he says that his son's been uneasy since the letter bomb went off. When, you know, which we saw, like, Mechanical sent up the notes that were like, don't trust Bernard notes, basically, that rained down through the silo, and didn't mention the Juliet incident. Probably I'm reading too much into that, but I just think that's an interesting note. I don't know. Did you have any more thoughts about?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. I mean, I'll just say, yeah, it's just.
But I would advise people to read it. It's not gonna tell you like anything revelatory, but it just adds a bit of context and depth and color to the show.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think it adds more weight to, we see Robert kind of struggling with that decision at the end of the last episode to show the Pez dispenser to Juliet. And this adds more weight to like why that's kind of like a struggle for him to do.
Yeah.
And then it makes me glad she handed it back to him afterward, because at this point it means more to him than it does to her.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, that's it. We'll keep this short. We'll see you back on Friday for our episode 6 breakdown. But please do share this little mini bonus episode with any other Silo fans you know who are looking into a deeper dive into this new short story. And we also want to hear your thoughts and theories. As always, send them to we'llshiftustpodcast@gmail.com. You'll find that linked in the show notes. And we're planning our next mailbag for after episode 6. So after this next episode is coming up. So now is the perfect time to send your thoughts in. Book spoiler thoughts are okay, but then they will be included in the book club episodes rather than the public breakdown, which we are keeping future book spoiler free.
Yes, because my innocence and other show only viewers must be protected.
Yes. And do jump into the Discord. You'll find linked in the show notes. I did update that link. Thank you to the people who alerted me that it wasn't working. And of course, there are the separate spoiler chats per episode this season and last season. You'll find that in the book club. You'll find those options in the show notes as well. Last word, Luke?
See everybody for the episode 6 breakdown.
All right. Happy sonogram hunting.
Most people don't realize how much their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making billions, pulling details about you from public records and the internet, and then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might sell just credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together, at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/remove. Protect yourself now at aura.com/remove.